Okay, let's go ahead and get started for week 4 of um, our Energize Mastermind. And so week 4, so just to recap real quickly, the first week we identified our starting point. The second week we identified the destination. The third week we identified, we talked a lot about what it is that creates a habit and the emotional triggers and so forth. And so what we did there is we established the plan. And this week we are going to talk about how to execute the plan. And let me make sure that I have well, we're recording, so we're good. Hey, welcome, Mark.
Hey, thank you.
Okay, so that's just a real quick reminder. Today we're in week 4. We're going to talk about executing the plan. Now, before I do that, I want to back up because there was one thing that I failed to cover last week on the way out, and that was the creation of this table right here, the Know Your Triggers. And so the Know Your Triggers table is really all about identifying for each of your 7 disciplines, basically going in there and bear with me just a second. Yeah, going into your triggers. Going into your 7 disciplines, and like we did last time, the task that we had going out of week 3 was to basically fit the new disciplines onto your calendar. And to do that, we weren't supposed to put them on top of what was already there. What we were supposed to do is identify the stuff that wasn't supposed to be there and replace it. And this table here helps us identify the triggers of the new disciplines and the old disciplines. And so we didn't cover that last week, but for each one of your disciplines right here, you need to go ahead and put down our 7 spaces. There should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, there's 7 spaces. And so put in each one of your disciplines, and then you identify what's going out, what's your outgoing discipline, what the thing that was on your calendar that doesn't belong there. That goes in the second column. And then you're going to identify the trigger that led to the old discipline and the trigger that is leading to the new discipline, whatever it is you're going to use for your trigger. And we talked about that extensively on last week. So because I missed that last week, let me just pause here real quick and see if there's any questions on that. Okay, and by the way, I apologize. I posted the worksheets to the Facebook page. I thought I had done it earlier, but I didn't. So I got them up there, kind of the last minute. So hopefully, if you didn't get the worksheets, let me know that.
I'm downloading it right now.
Okay. All right. Well, then I'll talk kind of slow. And actually, I'm gonna do some intro stuff here anyway, Mark. So that'll work out great. That'll work out well. So anyway, that's what we missed, or that's what I didn't get to last week, and I want to make sure that I touched on that. So as we move forward, if there's any questions on that, let me know. Now, one other thing I'd like to get your feedback on is, in the past 3 weeks, this is the first time I'm doing this mastermind online, and so I'm changing up a little bit today, and I'm look at the contrast. I'd love to give your feedback on it if I could. But in the previous 3 weeks, I did PowerPoint slides. Today, just to be help with communication and to align a little bit better, I'm just going to talk straight from the worksheets that you have. So I don't know if that's better or if that's worse, but I would like to get your feedback on, from your perspective, which way works better. So that would be helpful if I could get that from you. Okay. All right. So hopefully by now you've been able to watch the videos, a couple times and over the past 3 weeks, and you've been able to catch up. By the way, the videos will be on they'll be posted on the Facebook page till about February 20th if you want to go back and look at them again and update. And I know there's a lot of work associated with what we're doing, putting together this plan, but it's productive work, it's critical work, it's foundational work that most people don't do. So I applaud you for doing this, for taking the time to do this. And again, the videos will be available on the Facebook page till February 20th for you to go and continue to look at and so forth as you map out or continue to map out your foundation. Now, so just real quick, I'd like to get maybe some feedback, if you'd like to provide any feedback to, the session last week and any aha moments that it might have produced, or any unexpected stuff, things that maybe helped you, as you were, I put a poll question up on the Facebook page about the whole process of putting stuff on your calendar and taking stuff off. How did that whole process work out? I'd like to get some feedback on that if you'd like to share.
I will. I know that, can you hear me okay?
I can, Mark, thank you.
Okay. I know that when we got to the section about, and I am behind on this one. This week has been rough, but so I'm kind of moving forward as much as I can. But I know when we nailed down to the essentials, I appreciate that. I struggle with it because again, there's when we narrow down to 5 and then 7 supporting activities of those. I just had a hard time going through all and identifying those top 5. But I realize how if you don't do that, then you're defeating the purpose of this. You've got to start at the most important ones, and otherwise you're just kind of floundering through a whole bunch of them. So that was very kind of eye-opening, a reality check for me.
Well, that's cool. I appreciate you sharing that. Have you been able to narrow it down to this point, or that's something you're still working on?
I have. I'm still kind of going back and kind of reassessing it again, but I think it's best. I'm going by my gut, or not just going by my gut, but going by my thoughts on paper and get everything out. And it helps me to see it from a different perspective. Like, okay, I say this is important, and I put it at the top, and my actions don't really show it, but that's why I'm doing this. So, yeah.
That's good. And we're going to talk a lot about the other piece you were talking about, reviewing and retweaking and stuff. We're going to talk about that actually today. But when you got down to the essentials, Mark, was it what feeling? Was it freeing? Was it awareness? Oh, I was doing a ton of stuff I didn't really need to be doing, or was it maybe a relax? Now I only have to focus on this and not all the other stuff.
Yeah. It lightened the load. In all you mentioned, I went through all that, but it helped me again just to be practical about it. Like if you spread yourself too thin and don't really focus and have clarity on the direction you want to go and what you need to get there, then you won't get that far. And so it helped lighten the load. It was like, okay, I can live with this, and this is what I need to focus on. If I only do this, and the rest of the things that I had brought up to myself, it's still okay. I mean, I'm getting to get further along this way.
That's cool. That's a great feeling right there. I can hear it in your voice. You're kind of feeling relaxed. So,
yeah.
Have you experienced in what you've done? And I know you said you're a little behind, and that's no big deal there, because this is something you're going to do for the rest of your life.
Right.
So, but to this point, have you started to see the needle moving in any of these critical areas?
Yeah, already. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely on a daily basis.
That's great news. That is great news. And then as far as the process of transferring emotions, have you had an experience where you've able to successfully transfer a negative emotion to a positive emotion?
Truthfully, not so much yet. I haven't got a return in that way yet, but I have no doubt it'll happen.
Yeah. That's great. I appreciate you sharing. I appreciate you being transparent with those. So, as I encourage you, Mark, in the Facebook page to continue to interact, and
Yes.
as these needles start to move for you, post those out into the group for everybody else to see, because that's the purpose of these masterminds, is to encourage one another. And when other people seeing the needles moving where it gives them hope. Okay, yeah, I'm going to stick with the process. And it doesn't surprise me that you haven't had an experience to transfer emotions, because we just started.
Right.
Like I said, it's a process, and you seem to already understand that. So that's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. Okay, so
Sure.
Before we move into week 4, just real quickly, this is our last session for this mastermind. Now, I am doing 2 more masterminds. One's a business mastermind, and one's actually a family mastermind. One of them is all about branding, help you set your branding. So if you're interested in identifying and setting a branding, I am starting a mastermind later this brand new you, and so I'm doing a young adult leadership master quest. And so both of those are going to be later on this month. And if either of those interest you, then you can post on Facebook or message me for information. Or actually, I'll post these to Facebook so you'll see them. And if that's something that would benefit you, then that'd be great to continue on with you. So, having said that, hopefully now everybody's got their 7 disciplines posted in their calendars, and you have established the calendar as your boss. Okay, so here's the idea of the triggers. So we talked a lot about the triggers, and the triggers, these are the things that make you do subconsciously the things you don't really want to do. And the challenge is coming to grips with the reality. And so if you look at the reality, and maybe on an extreme position, alcoholics, if they go into a bar, or if they're with friends that drink, they're compelled to drink themselves, right? Those are all triggers. And of course, that's an extreme situation. But I'll tell you a trigger of mine that, and it was before I even understood the whole concept of triggers, but it was something I acted on, and that was cable TV. Now, this is what I did. I'm not suggesting that anybody on this call do that, but years ago, I got rid of cable TV because I found that I sat around on weekends and watched sports, and the one that was really amazing to me is I would watch movies that I didn't even like to the end, just so I could find out how they ended. And so I realized that I was losing a whole lot of time. So that's what I did. That was my trigger, is the cable. So I kind of ousted the trigger. And, in my family, as I was growing up, we had the TV on as background noise all the time. And so I carried that in my and so forth. And so that was something that I decided early on that I wanted to be more productive. So I had to get rid of that trigger. So we got rid of cable many, many moons ago. But that's an example of triggers. So what we want to do today is we want to actually set up our execution plan. So we've got our plan, we've got it on our calendar. So now we're gonna set up our execution plan. And so we're going to set up various reminders, and the point of the reminders is basically to move us from consciously incompetent to unconsciously competent. And what I mean by that is You know, when I was watching all those sports and everything all weekend long, at the end of the weekend, I knew that, oh, I just wasted all weekend. I knew it. I was conscious of the fact that I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. I was incompetent. I was conscious of it, right? And so the whole idea of reminders and the whole idea of executing on the plan, now we've all put a lot of work in the last 3 weeks into developing a plan, and some of our plans aren't complete, and we'll go the next couple of, 2-3 weeks as we develop this or continue to develop and fine tune this plan, right? But this week here is going to help us actually execute on the plan, because the reality of it is we have habits right now, and habits are subconscious. In other words, they happen most of the time without us even knowing that they're happening. And so what we want to do is we want to create habits about the positive things and get those to where we want to create those into habits. We want to go through the formation of habit, the 3-step formation of the habit that we talked about last week, and we want to create habits out of them, because once we create habits out of them, life gets a lot simpler, because now we do a lot of things positive subconsciously. We don't have to actually think about it. There's not an ongoing decision that we have to make. It becomes part of us because we've created that habit. And that's what we want to do today. And so, we live in a faster society than we did before. And we because of that, we are armed with a lot of tools that are going to help us do this. So, way back when I grew up on the, my aunt's farm, they had a lot of roosters, and the roosters would wake people up in the morning, right? And so that was their way of using reminders and alerts. Well, today we don't need to use roosters. You can, but we don't have to use roosters. What we can do is something we can rely on. We can set reminders in our phone. We can set alerts, all over the place, computers, wherever. But what we're going to do here is we're going to set up a series of reminders that are going to help remind us of the things that we want to do and the emotions associated with that, right? So we're going to start with reminders on who we are. And this is really important, because how you view yourself is so important, and it's critical to the impact that you're going to have in life. See, people that see themselves as high achievers achieve at a high level. People that don't see themselves as high achievers don't achieve at a high level. People that see themselves fit, they get fit. And people that don't see themselves as fit don't get fit. And we need reminders. We need to remind ourselves daily who we are. And the reason we need to do that is because there's a lot of language around us, and even, external as well as internal. And internal language is the most important. And also the brain will try to protect us from emotions, like we discussed previously. So we'll try to avoid these emotions and these feelings a lot of times by doing nothing. So to accommodate the feeling of doing nothing, then we start telling ourselves lies about how we're happy doing nothing, right? And so the whole concept of reminders basically is to get us to connect with those positive emotions that are going to pull out the real you. And it's important that I say the real you, because we were all created to succeed, but we're programmed to fail. And that's the thing, is the people around us, the voices in our inner head, all of those are giving us negative, they're telling us lies about ourselves. So what we're going to do is we're going to start setting up reminders that are going to identify who we are, all right? So we'll go into our phones and we'll create alerts multiple times a day that will remind you of whatever your big 5 are, okay? So, for instance, you can set a reminder, and here's just an example. I'm a fit, vibrant, accomplished leader. I accomplish more in a day than most do in a week. I'm a fearless prospector. I mean, those are several different comments, right? But they could cover, like the first one, I am fit. That has to do with, that could be a fitness or a health goal. I'm a vibrant, accomplished leader. That could be a leadership goal. That could be a family goal. That could be a business goal, and so forth and so on. So what we want to do, we want to go ahead and put these reminders, we want to create reminders in our phones that will periodically throughout the day remind us of who we are. Now, it's very important that when we set these reminders, because what's going to happen, these reminders are going to go off every day, and at a certain point, the reminder is going to get to the point where, oh, I've read it before. Oh, I know. Oh, that's my reminder, 3 o'clock reminder. Oh, that's my 9 a.m. reminder, whatever. So you're going to get to that point. So it's very important for this to work, for this to start to replace the thoughts that are in your head with these new thoughts, with these new positive vibrations. Then it's very important that when those reminders come up, you don't just swipe left or whatever the terminology is. You don't just get rid of them. You need to engage them. You need to stop for a second. And one of the ways you can do to engage them is maybe instead of an I am statement, which are preferred, you can actually write a statement like, what makes me a vibrant, accomplished leader? All right? What is the reason I accomplish more in a day? What makes me fearless? And see, by asking yourself a question, there is science around that, because your brain is an incredible computer, more powerful than any computer you have on your desk. But the brain, basically, if you ask it a question, the logical side is going to try and answer that question, right? And so that's another way to start to engage the brain. But either way, if you do I am statements or you ask questions, and again, you don't want to ask you don't want to ask closed-ended questions like, am I an accomplished leader? You don't want to answer a yes or no. You want to answer a question that requires that kicks in the creative side of your brain, the right side of your brain. What makes me a vibrant, accomplished leader? And now the right side of your brain is going to come in and say, well, I'm a vibrant, accomplished leader because I am, whatever the case might be. But again, you want to engage these reminders when they come up. You don't want to just swipe left and move on. Let me pause right there on the whole idea of reminders of who we are. And does anybody have any questions regarding what we just talked about? Okay, raise your hand if you have any questions on that. Okay, cool. All right, so the next thing we want to do, again, creating reminders of who we are, we want to do pretty much the same thing, but we want to do it visually. So we want to create a vision board. So raise your hand if you have created a vision board at one point in time in your life. Okay, well, then this is going to be an experience for you, and it's going to be a worthwhile experience for you, because what we're going to do is we're going to create visually all of the I am statements in a vision board. And so, and here is and by the way, you're going to create visions. You'll go to magazines or the internet or just wherever. You may even have some home pictures. You have pictures of your own that you might want to use. I use pictures of places we've been and stuff like that with my family to create some of the visions that I want to stress. So you want to create this vision board and get these images. And here is the magic of the vision board. The magic of the vision board is to basically, oh, and by the way, the visuals that you're going to create with these images, these have to represent your big five. Again, the whole goal here is to get you to focus on the big five, those 7 disciplines that you have, the big five. All right. And so the magic of the vision board is, once you create your vision board, then what you want to do is you want to stand in front of your vision board for a few minutes every day, in the morning and in the evening. And it's not really a lengthy exercise, but what you want to do is you want to look at one of the visuals, then you want to close your eyes for 10 to 15 seconds, and you want to feel the reality of that visual being real. Okay, and so an example of that is maybe you're in a leadership role and you have people coming to you for guidance, right? And so you've got a visual that's showing that you're in a leadership role, and you've got people that are coming to you, and you are kind of a guide, you're kind of a mentor, and so you want to basically look at that visual. Maybe that visual is you with, or maybe it's people surrounded together with one person in the middle, or whatever that visual might be, whatever it works for you. But you want to look at that visual, and then you want to close your eyes for 10 to 15 seconds, and you want to feel what it's like to watch the people around you that are coming to you, to watch them grow, and to feel them growing independent and becoming more and doing more. And then you experience the feeling of them actually now taking what they're doing and actually, or taking what you're doing and actually doing it for others. They're helping others. So now your leadership is expanding beyond these people in front of you. There's actually other people that are being impacted. And so that's kind of the process. And you want to do that each and every day, 10 to 15 seconds on each visual. And so again, it's not a lengthy process, but do it 2 days or twice a day. And so maybe you have your vision board somewhere in your bedroom or something. So first thing in the morning, you get up and you grab your coffee, and then you go stand in front of your vision board and you do your exercise 10 to 15 seconds in front of every visual. And then you put it away and you start your day. And then before you go to sleep at night, you do the same thing. You stand in front of your vision board, and you go through the same exercises for 10, 15 seconds on each visual. And what will begin to happen is your subconscious will start to make that feeling that you're feeling while you got your eyes closed, while you're visualizing that visual, that the one of those big five, the one of those disciplines, the image associated with that feeling you're getting, your subconscious is going to start making that feeling become real. And so you're reprogramming that. You're in essence reprogramming years of lies. And so that is the magic of the vision board. And so again, the vision board is all about engaging the creative side of your brain. And so that's the big part, because the creative side, I mean, we're all here because we have certain things that we want to recreate in our lives, things that we want to change. And that's the recreation, or that's the creation process, the creative process. And we can't do that with the logical side of our brain. We've got to invoke the creative side of our brain, and that's done, and the vision board actually puts that into place. So let me pause there real quick on the vision board, creating the vision board and what you're going to do with that each and every day. If you have any questions on that, raise your hand. Okay, cool. All right, so now the next thing we want to do is, once we got our vision board, we want to put these images everywhere. Any place that you frequently travel, whether it's your desk, whether it's your car. Now, if it's your car, don't be looking at it while you're driving. But, at your desk, maybe in your bedroom, maybe while you're brushing your teeth, in the mirror, wherever it is, you can actually put it several places, on the refrigerator as you go and eat, So put it in places that you frequently travel, and also in places that are key locations for triggering certain negative emotions. Okay? All right. So let's move forward with that. And now the next we're going to talk about emotional connectors. All right? And so everything we do is derived from emotions. So hopefully we've been doing a lot, and we've been thinking about what emotions create the behaviors we want versus the emotions we are currently attaching to why we don't have what we want. So what we want to do here with these emotional connectors now is we want to create a series of alerts on our phone that connect the right emotions to the proper focus. And we talked a lot about that in weeks 1 and 2. So we have some sheets that we made out that kind of tie those negative emotions to those positive emotions, right? And so now we want to create some emotional connectors. So the first set of reminders we created were all about who we are, the I am statements, asking us why we're that person, engaging ourselves with, I am statements and affirmations. These statements are all about connecting the right emotions so we get the right focus. And so an example of that would be, one emotion, or I'm sorry, your experiences working out. Maybe you dread it. Maybe you don't like the pain of lifting weights, or maybe it's an embarrassment thing. Maybe you got white legs and you don't want to show up in the gym with your white legs, or maybe you lift little bitty small weights compared to everybody else. That's your perspective. And so for whatever reason, or maybe it's just the time. Maybe you'd rather do something with your time. But anyway, we have emotions associated with that. And so what we want to do is we want to connect a series of reminders that will shift the focus from the negative emotion, the dread, the pain, and the embarrassment, to the positive emotion, this positive focus of being able to go out and buy new clothes. Okay, I get to go buy new clothes because I've lost so much weight, or I've trimmed down, or I have more energy, or I just have more confidence in my appearance. So these are the kind of alerts that we want to create around the emotional connectors. And so here's a couple of examples that might help. So let's say that you want to start like me. I started a morning program, and it got disrupted because I traveled over the weekend, but I want to get back to it again. And so I have a morning routine that I just implemented when I was going through my forms, and that morning routine is not something I normally did because I'm not really a morning person. So the morning routine was something that kind of went against my grain. Well, but here's an example of some emotional alerts that you can set, or that you can set to basically get you up in the morning. So maybe at 10 p.m. you set an alert that says, I feel like a champion when I wake up early and hit the gym. So that's kind of an alert that kind of gets your emotional mindset to where, okay, well, I need to get to bed. I need to get to bed because I've got an early morning. And then the following morning at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m., whatever time you start, you have another emotional alert that goes off that says, I love the post-workout feeling I get and all of the energy. Being here, just by being here, I'm a winner. So those are just examples, and you can put all kinds of reminders, emotional reminders. Another one for me is, in the afternoon I get, the doldrums, so I get up and want to get a snack or whatever the case might be. And so maybe I put a 3 p.m. reminder in there to remind me that apples are great, sodas are gross, whatever the case might be. But those are examples of emotional connectors that we want to create as we go through this thing here. And again, the examples I gave may or may not apply to you. They're just examples, but you need to find those emotional connectors that make sense to you and are specific, or that are aligned with your big five. And we also need to be aware of negative triggers. So thinking of the food example at 3 p.m., make sure we set an alert that offsets that negative trigger, like the one I gave an example of getting an apple and that sodas suck. Okay? So let me pause right there. Any questions on that? Is that making sense as far as the emotional connectors?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Excellent. All right. So the next thing we want to talk about is we want to master our transitions. All right, so, most of us, we live life like just one big run-on sentence. I heard somebody say that once, and I thought that was just really a great way to put it. What I mean by that is we don't transition from one situation or one event to the other. We just move from one event to the other, and we carry all the baggage from the previous event right along with us into the new event. So all day long, we transition like from sleeping to action. We transition from driving to being at work, transition from writing or whatever, working to maybe talking to our wife. We all tend to do, we all tend to basically, like I said earlier, is run all of these events together, and we're not aware of the transitions, and so because we're not aware of them, we don't do a very good job of mastering them. And so there can be a lot of negative triggers out of these. So for example, maybe you're on a call, a very frustrating call with a customer. And after you get off the phone with the customer, the phone rings and it's your wife or it's one of your kids. And so now you get on that call and maybe you're a little terse or whatever the case might be because you just got off a call that that kind of pushed you to the limits. Well, what if we created triggers? And there's two different kinds. So there's unexpected transitions like the one I just mentioned, where you're on the call with a customer and then another call comes in. Maybe it's your wife, maybe it's kids, maybe it's another customer, maybe it's your boss. It doesn't really matter, but it was unexpected. And now you have to transition the negative emotion and you need to transfer that quickly and get yourself in the right frame of mind and get rid of all that baggage before you go into the next situation, the next conversation, whatever the case might be. And so there's unexpected transitions like the one I just mentioned, but there's also expected transition. The expected transition would be at the end of the day when you leave work. So you're driving home, and so you're going to the house, you're going to meet your family, you're going to meet them for dinner or just get home or whatever it is in your life, but it's an expected transition. So in each one of those, we have the opportunity to create little reminders to help us with those transitions, help us to master those transitions. So an example would be on the unexpected transition, maybe you keep a sign by your computer that basically says, I am a positive force that everyone feeds from. And so that's something you're constantly looking at. And when you get off the phone with a customer, you're looking at that, and so now it prepares you for whatever call might come in after that. Expected transitions might be on your way home. Maybe you take a minute. Maybe you park down the street, or maybe you park in the parking lot. You don't even leave work yet. Maybe you want to leave all that stuff at work. And you concentrate, maybe you put on some music that you really enjoy, and you state, I'm a positive force. Maybe you have that sign up somewhere, in your car, or maybe it's a reminder that goes off every day. If you get off at 5 o'clock, that reminder goes off before you get in your car, and you sit in the parking lot at work, and you read to yourself, I am a positive force. My family needs my love and encouragement. I am the best spouse and best parents. I'll show you. So those are different ways that you can basically learn to master your transitions. And the reason this is really important, and I know in a minute here, I'd like to get some feedback on transitions that you may have, that you experience. I'll give you an example of mine, transitions where just do a poor job, and it's important to note that just taking seconds could make the next minutes, hours, so much more productive, because those seconds could allow you to get rid of the baggage from the previous situation, and then go into the next situation with your mind focused with the positive emotions. So, a perfect example for me is, I work a lot from home, and so my kids know not to come into the office when I'm on the phone, when I'm conducting business, but there are times when I'm just working and I'm in thought, and they'll come in, and I'll see them come in, and so what I will do is I'll make a conscious effort to finish my thought, and then stop for just a few seconds and remind myself, my children need me. I am the father. I'm the best father of my children. I am the source, a positive force. And so then I will swivel in my chair and I will look at my, whoever's there, and my spouse, children, whoever, and I'll say, yes. And at that point in time, I just give them my full attention. I'm not looking back at the keyboard or whatever the case might be. So, that's an example from my life that I had a transition I had to work through. So I don't know, Mark, if you wanted to, do you have any transitions like that you would like to share?
Yeah, actually the exact same thing. I noticed it recently. I work from home on occasion, and I was very busy day working with clients, and my daughter kept coming in, the same thing, and she was in a playful mood, and there's a point, and she understands when, okay, I can't play right now. I've got to work. You need to go back out and find something to do. But and this one day she was coming in and doing that, and was sneaking up behind me and playing, and it wasn't like a major deadline. It wasn't anything that I couldn't just set aside and turn around and tell myself, there's only going to be a period of time where she's going to be willing to do this, to come in and kind of sneak up behind me, want to play, and I better appreciate it at that moment. So that kind of relates to what you said, I think.
That's a super cool story. So what kind of emotional connector could you apply to that?
Oh, just know that I'm trying to think how to term it for emotions. It's, I continually fight to appreciate the good things around us, even when you don't feel like it at all. Even if you're just telling yourself that, keep trying to enjoy moments like that, and prioritize them.
That's great. Thank you for that. That's good. And you actually, you said it also, and I love the way you said it initially. There's only a certain amount of time left that she's going to want to do that. That right. When you said that, I connected emotionally with that completely.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good stuff, Mark. Thank you. Now, do you have any questions on this whole creating the emotional connectors?
I do not.
Okay, and mastering the transitions?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we just got a few more things here then. So let me move to the schedule reflections. Now, this is what you were talking about earlier. You were talking about retweaking your plan and so forth like that. And so scheduling reflections is the opportunity to fine-tune your plan. And so, like we said before, even when using the example of a GPS, right? And you put in the from and to location. Well, you're driving along and you notice, okay, there's traffic. Well, maybe your GPS will redirect you to the shorter route, right? So even GPS will constantly be recalculating your path. And that's what you're going to do, because you may find out that some of your reminders, maybe they're at the wrong time. Maybe you're not having success getting up at 6 a.m. in the morning, so you have to move that to 6:30 or 7. And so you tweak that. Or Maybe you're finding out that cookie doesn't come into your mind, and it comes into your mind at 2:30, and your reminder doesn't go off until 3. So you got to tweak that. So this is a constant process of retweaking your plan to get it to where it really works for you. It just hums. And so the disciplines are on your calendar, which is your boss. So what we want to do is we want to add 1 hour every month and 2 hours every 90 days for reflection. And I would also, this is for formal reflection where you're talking about an hour at a time. But I would also, and again, it's up to each one of you. But I would even recommend that at the end of each day, taking a couple minutes. And again, I don't mean a lot of time. I'm not talking about an hour. I'm not talking about 30 minutes. I'm really talking about a couple of minutes and just highlighting your day. What went well, what didn't go well, what can I do tomorrow to make those other things, run a little bit smoother. Just take a few minutes and just a little tweaking each and every day. There's a saying out there that says, it's not practice that makes perfect, it's reflected on practice that makes perfect. And that's what we're doing here. We're reflecting on this plan on a daily basis so we can get as close to running like a high performance engine. All right, and so taking the time out of your week and your day and your month to schedule these reflections is important. So again, at a minimum, put 1 hour every month and 2 hours every 90 days. And again, if you're interested in getting those daily celebrations of things that you did, looking back on your day, then I would schedule a couple, 2-3 minutes, 4 minutes at the most, each and every day to look through your calendar and your day and say, wow, I did that, they did. Because so many times in our day, at the end of the day, we feel like we're unaccomplished. We didn't accomplish anything. And so looking back on our day, you're almost always going to find some wins in there that are basically, it's kind of like that par on the 18th hole. It's that, you may have shot double bogey all day long, but you get a par on the 18th hole. Well, now I want to play golf again, right? So you see those wins in your day and you say, I'm ready to tackle tomorrow. And so that brings you into the next day, upbeat in addition to all the reminders that you already have. So schedule your reflections. The next thing we want to talk about is we want to create some emotion cards. And so you want to get 7 3x5 cards. And these cards are all about writing emotionally charged affirmations that will represent where you are a year from now. And so you want to talk in the past tense like it's already happened. Okay? And so these cards, what you want to, and there's an example here on the worksheet. It says, I feel so proud of myself, bursting with vitality, having gone an entire year without missing a week in the gym. My confidence is soaring and I'm just getting started. So these are the kind of statements that you want to write on each one of those cards for each one of your 7 disciplines. Now, what you're going to do with these emotion cards is each day you're going to keep them where they're easily accessible, and then each day in the morning and the evening, just like your vision board, you're going to read through each one of these cards, and you're going to read through them. And here's the part, because in our busy days, I know I'm guilty of this. In the busy day, I have a tendency to just run past something. Okay, done, run past, check the box, run past, check the box, run past. It's very important that here with these emotion cards that we don't run past it, that we actually read the card with all of the emotion that you wrote it with, okay? All of the emotion. You want to experience all that emotion in the past tense like you've already achieved it, okay? So does that make sense? Any questions on that, Mark?
No, makes complete sense.
Okay, cool. All right. The last thing we're going to talk about, 2 more things we're going to talk about real quick. Accountability. Now, accountability, this is something you just got to share publicly. Any kind of disciplines you have, you're going to have to share publicly with other people. You're going to put it on the record. You're going to have to put yourself out there. So here's an accountability sheet. What you want to do is for each one of your 7 disciplines again, you want to identify an accountability partner, and then you want to identify when you're going to check in, and how you're going to check in. So is it, just check in 2 or 3 minutes? Hey, I did this, I did that, whatever the case might be. Or is it going to be a little bit longer? Is it going to be once a week? Is it going to be once a day? Is it going to be once a month? Whatever the case might be. Again, this is your accountability portion to keep you on track with your disciplines, with moving the needle on those critical areas of life. And this is important because we set up all the mechanisms, we set up the game plan, we got everything set up to keep you on track, right? But now we need, they're all inanimate objects, but now we need another person. We need public that will look at what you're doing and hold you accountable. So the accountability piece is a very critical this entire roadmap. Okay, the last thing we want to do is we want to set short-term mile markers. Now, again, I want to stress what I talked about in week 1. I may have talked about it again in week 2. Goal setting is important, but goal setting sets the destination. Goal achieving talks about how you're going to get there. It talks about the journey. And so we don't want to just wait to celebrate till we get that goal way out there, right? What we want to do is we want to set some short-term mile markers. And what I mean by that is we want to set some very short-term goals, maybe 1 to 2 weeks out, 30 days at the most. And we want to set these things that are doable in the next, like I said, 1 to 2 weeks. And every time you achieve, then you need to set a new goal. So an example would be, I went to the gym, or go to the gym 4 days in a row this week, or making 50 calls this week, or tracking your spending for a week. So these are all short-term goals that you can actually achieve, and you can get the immediate celebration that you've done those, and then you move on and set a new goal. And again, the whole purpose of this is for you to realize success quickly. All right? Now, at the very bottom, I don't know what I did here. I apologize. Oh, I know what I did. This sheet here, and I'll update this form, this sheet here isn't supposed to be, it's not supposed to be a discipline accountability partner. It's supposed to be short-term mile markers. So it's going to be another sheet for each one of your disciplines. You want to set a mile marker and the frequency, how far out it is, okay? And so you can't see it on there, so I apologize for that. But I'll update that and post it to the Facebook page here shortly, okay? So that is the entire process, and you need to take a few moments. We talked about celebration, so you need to take a few moments and you need to applaud yourself for going through this process. There was a lot to it. There's a lot of work, but when you're planning a life, when you're planning a future, you probably are in the top 3 to 5% of people that actually go through this much effort to plan their future, the future of themselves and their family. So I applaud you for that. Having said that, I want to kind of I guess what I'm trying to say is there's a movie, and I don't know if you remember, or I don't know if you've seen the movie. It's called Airplane. I think it was back in the 80s, and it was kind of a joke. It was a spoof. It was a comedy. But there was one part where they're in space. I think it was Airplane 2. They were in space, and one guy says, "Well, we're just a tad off our course," and somebody said, "Well, what's a tad?" And someone says, "That's 5 billion space miles." And I just thought that was funny at the time, but it applies here because everything we went through here. Let's say you're not successful at everything, but if you just start and if you're able to just move the needle 5 degrees, that could because it's going to change your direction. It's going to change the direction that you're heading. So that 5 degrees could be 5 billion space miles. It's going to have a huge impact on the course of your life. And so give yourself grace as you move forward, because again, you're reprogramming years of lies, years of language that's in your head. So give yourself grace in that regard, but keep moving forward, because every little degree you move that needle, you are just changing your future incredibly for the better. Now, what I want to recap is this course was supposed to show you how to skip goal setting and go straight to goal achieving, and help you create your vision for the year with clarity. And we did that by establishing your big five and your essential ingredients. This course was also supposed to build a strong strategy that will eliminate confusion on how to achieve your desired results. And it was also to help you learn how to be most effective in the most critical areas of your life. We did that by connecting and shifting emotions. And then we were going to gain key strategies for staying on track and maintaining momentum. And we did that by gaining awareness of triggers and creating new triggers, reminders, and alerts, some of the things we did today. And then the last thing, it was a strategy for increasing influence with your most important relationships. Well, that's where we started. That was with the buckets of life. So let me pause right there. Mark, see, first and foremost, do you have any questions on anything we covered today?
No, I don't. Kind of taking it all in today, and I know if I have some, because I've reached out to you before, I will, but I don't at this time, Dan.
That's perfect. That's perfect. And so, I appreciate your time over the last 4 weeks. I enjoyed getting to know you through this process. As I said earlier, the Facebook page will be up for several more weeks. I encourage you to continue to engage myself and the rest of the group. And anything that we can continue to help you with, or any questions as you move forward with this process. And again, I'd love to hear your feedback. I'd like to celebrate with you when you start, when the needle starts to move for you and some of these emotional triggers. I'd love to have the opportunity. So by all means, post those on Facebook so we can celebrate with you.
I appreciate it, and I'll do that. And I like what you said about how this is, even just completing this is just a reminder that I'm moving forward. I'm better off than I was 4 weeks ago, and there's plenty more work to be done. In fact, it's just starting really. But again, you have to, you're not going to get there in one giant step. It's the little steps along the way.
Amen to that. So was this beneficial, Mark?
Yes.
Excellent. All right. Well, I think we're at the top of the hour. So again, post any questions you have on Facebook. We'll continue to interact there for the next several weeks. Mark, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan.
Y'all have a wonderful day. Bye now.
Okay. You too. Bye-bye.